All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Avenue CDC for being our gracious partners and hosts for tonight as we have our presentation, New Homes for the Near North Side. And so to kick off, we're going to go ahead and do the rounds of introductions. So I'd like to hand it off to Tom to lead that off. Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Jeremiah, and it's good to be with you virtually. I had hoped to be there in person and got delayed here at the office and decided to call in from here, but I guess with our 5:42 start, I might have been able to make it there on time. But wonderful to be with you and to be talking about affordable homes for the near north side. We are excited to be working on this. We are excited to be hearing from the community. And let me say that while we know that there is a need and we've heard the need for affordable home ownership in this area, we know that the details around what that's going to look like is still to come. And as you'll hear tonight, our goal is to receive feedback from you all before we get too far down the road. And so a huge thank you to our partners, the Houston Land Bank. Thank you to Jeremiah for emceeing the event, and for Alexandra Miller, who's been working hard as the consultant on the project. And looking forward to hearing the conversations. I'll be sticking around so that forward to where this conversation leads. With that, let me just say a special thanks to Council Member Carlos Cisneros, who is currently my council member, but will in just a few weeks I'll be moving, as I mentioned in the chat, just to the other side of the railroad tracks outside of District H, but very close to both of the properties that we will be discussing tonight. So I will remain a very interested resident from just across the railroad tracks, both for District H and the work that your council member is doing, but also for the work on these two developments. And looking forward to hearing from the other residents who are even closer and who have a much deeper tie to this community than I have. With that, council member, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Tom. Just a welcome to everyone for joining tonight and participating in this this session. It's really important to hear what your thoughts are and your ideas. There's a lot of history, a lot of ideas that have already emerged over years about what the future, what the vision for this these two locations are, and so that's important too to consider all that. What's still relevant, what's changed, what is it that's what are the goals for now? So I really very much appreciate the housing department's initiatives here and reaching out to the community, and they are, in addition to tonight, there's another meeting that will be coming up at Wesley Community Center very soon, but they have also expressed a willingness to meet with small groups of you, or individually, if you have anything that you need to contribute, in terms of how this vision pans out, please do so. Please reach out to them. They are extremely open and need your input. Thank you.
Thank you, council member, and thank you to you for your strong support for ensuring that all of our residents in District H and across the city have homes they can afford in communities where they can thrive, which is the vision of our department and what we hope to achieve for the city. With that, Jeremiah, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. So let's just go ahead and get started, everyone. Thank you again for your patience. We're running a little bit behind, but our presentation is pretty short, and then we're going to get to the meat of it, which is talking about homes for the near north side. So the agenda for today's meeting, we got three parts of this presentation, and then we're going to get into, like I said, the discussion portion. So one, we'll be talking about the project background. Two, the community engagement piece, which we are doing as we speak. And then three, the guiding key questions that we're asking throughout this process. So very briefly, talking about homeownership programs, this is very much aligned, our efforts are very much aligned with the Complete Communities and the work that we're doing there with that initiative. And we're tend to think of this in three broad buckets. Home ownership, which is creating new home ownership opportunities for residents, making sure that we're meeting the community needs, which is the current residents of the near North Side. And then finally, making sure that we have that aspect of make these homes are available for a variety of incomes for people for affordable homes and also above market rate opportunities for a variety of folks on that spectrum to actually become homeowners. So here's where we are roughly in the new home development process. We have 2 sites that have been identified, which we'll show you in a few slides, some aerial pictures of that, so you have that context of what we're talking about. We're currently at number 2, gathering community feedback. And this stage, number 2, will directly feed number 3. The feedback we hear from the community throughout these next few weeks will go directly to our, will be part of this notice of funding availability to developers. The feedback we summarize will be put into that, that notice, and developers will have to respond to it. So that's why it's vitally important that we get as much feedback from the community, and that's very representative across the community. After that process, a developer will be selected and homes will be built. And number 5, the fun part, selling new homes to residents of the near North Side. So in terms of the community engagement piece, we are, I'm going to kind of skip over 1 and 2. We're actually at 3 and 4. So this initial public meeting, that's us here today. As the council member mentioned, we have a meeting on the 17th, and that's all part of number 4, that virtual and community commitment period, comment period, I should say, where we're going to be getting feedback virtually and in person for the next 3 weeks and incorporating that into that notice that I mentioned in the previous slide. And we're targeting July 8th for a community recap session so we can report out to the community what we heard from all of you. So that way you have that that visibility of what we heard from you through the next 3 weeks. So very briefly, these are the sites. So for the folks that are in-house, you can see that we also have a giant map of that over here as well. But the north side, as we're calling it, is currently used as the parking and maintenance facilities for Yellow Cab. You may have already seen some of our signage up there. Thank you to our communications team for getting that up there. And on the south side, which is currently vacant, it's around Burnett Street and is directly adjacent to the Metro Red Line and the Burnett Transit Center. And just again, for that visibility, here's exactly the areas that we're looking at in yellow for the north side, and then for the south side as well. And with that, we're going to talk about the community engagement piece in more detail, and I would like to hand it over to Alex to lead that part of the conversation. Alex?
Thanks, Jeremiah. Can everyone in the room hear me? You good? All
yes.
right.
Yes.
So, you know, it's been great working with the city on this. I'm Alex Miller with Asakura Robinson. As Director McCaslin mentioned, we've been working with the Housing Department on this work so far. And, you know, one of the things that we were really brought on to help do is to help come up with a strategy for informing the community. And so things that we know about, you know, creating that the successful, really getting the word out successfully to a broad spectrum of the community. We have to work with community partners. And so, you know, as we said, thank you so much to Avenue CDC for, you know, being one of those partners who has stepped up and helped us spread the word. And I know that there are future partnerships such as with Wesley Community Center as well. But I think more community partners are always welcome in this process, whether that's, you know, just as a resident or as a group. And so if you have thoughts about partnering up to help spread the word about this, I know we'd welcome that. There's signage. And so as Jeremiah mentioned, you know, look for banners and signs in the neighborhood. I know they've been put up at major intersections prior to these meetings and also on and around the 2 sites. And there's also going to be updates on the city's landing page for this, which we'll have a link to later, the website dedicated to this project, as well as through social media. If we go to the next slide, the website that has been created for this project. So we know that, you know, there are folks who are ready to come out to in-person meetings. There's also folks who may not have time to go to in-person meetings or who may need some additional just a more flexible way to give their input. And so what we've done is built a website on a platform called Social Pinpoint. The great things about this website, it's bilingual, it is mobile friendly, which we know helps for folks who, may not have access to the internet in their home or reliable access. You can use your smartphone and access the website very easily and use it. And it has 3 different features, including a map tool, a survey, and an ideas wall that we're going to be demonstrating for you in just a minute. So if we go to the next slide, yeah, here we go. So this is the map and survey portion, and then this is the ideas wall portion. And Jeremiah, I think, is going to do a very quick walkthrough on the website of what that really looks like as you interact with it.
Yes, thank you, Alex. And as Alex mentioned, we do have a landing page. It's this link right here, housingtx.gov/housing/near-northside.html. And just very quickly, you can see we have a lot more specific information about this development, what we're trying to accomplish. We also at the very bottom of the page have materials that can be printed out that explain this in more detail. And as Alex mentioned, links to our Social Pinpoint website, which we already have up here. Let me just shrink this down. This will be a fairly quick demonstration, everyone, of what this tool can do. So you'll see for everyone that's online, on the very top of this page, there's 4 icons that you can click and drag and make comments in terms of this development. So these icons are just kind of a guiding post. We have a little bit of definitions here on the left of what we mean by each one. So buy shop, which is this purple icon, is what kind of grocery stores, coffee shops, retail stores do you think might be needed? Places to gather, which is this blue icon, places that you'd like to see developed where you can spend time with friends and family, and so on and so forth. I want to read all this to you. I just want to demonstrate this very quickly. So I just clicked and I'm dragging and dropping, I'll just say here for now, and you'll get this box that pops up. Again, this is in English and Spanish, and you can leave your specific comment. So for example, I'm going to put a comment here. They should look like Dallas Cowboys. So if right now, and then my email, you have to put your email address. And then there's a button to add comment. And then in real time, you can see my comment, everything should look like Dallas Cowboys here. And what you can do from this point, these are comments that have already been made. You can like, dislike, or even start a discussion. So if there are things that you already see on the discussion board, you can add to that. You can give that feedback in more detail. So we also have, Alex mentioned this, a survey. It's 3 quick questions that you can access here on the left, in English and in Spanish. And then we also have an ideas wall. So you click this 3rd option here, go to this link, ideas wall, by clicking this link. And this is a little more of a message board look and feel. And this is also in real time. So you can click, the actual question is, tell us what you think about new homes for the North Side. And you can select one of these options. If you want to ask a question to the team, if you want to talk about what that dream near North Side looks like, etc. And there's comments that have already been made here by real people, not people advocating that it looks like Dallas Cowboys in the near North Side. And you can like and dislike. So that's just a very quick run through of that tool. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint slide again so that way Alex can continue.
Great. Thanks, Jeremiah. So we're just going to go over the 4 key questions we have surrounding some of these development opportunities. So we have, really some things that we're looking to understand so that we can put some of the feedback that you're going to give us into that notice of funding for the developers that Jeremiah mentioned earlier, and make sure that those developers understand what the community is looking for as these sites are designed and built out. So the first question we have that we want to go over tonight is designing in context. We want to make sure that we are thinking about what characteristics give a near North Side home its look and feel, what might be some common factors between different types of houses that we see on the near North Side, whether those are things like trees or, you know, ways in which they relate to the street, ways in which they build community. So trying to think about what are some of the key things about a near North Side home that really makes it feel like the near North Side. The next question we have is about density and good design. So we really want to think about what is possible on these sites. These are, you know, the near North Side is a really fantastic location in a lot of ways. It's, you know, central to the city, it's near downtown. And so what that does mean is that it can be more expensive to build homes there and then for people to buy homes there. So in order to make the housing here able to be mixed income, to have a variety of options for different folks, one of the things that we are really looking at is having a mix of housing types, which means that the city's investment can help more people become homeowners. If we look at something like townhomes or small condominiums, as opposed to, you know, typical larger lot detached single family homes. So we really want to think about ways in which design can help those slightly denser options feel like the neighborhood that's around them and really fit in, while at the same time making sure that we have that opportunity to help more people with the sites that we are able to purchase, even if they are a little bit more expensive. So designing for connection is another key piece here. You know, we want to make sure that we are building connectivity into these developments. And so what are some of the ways in which people want to see that type of connectivity? Is it wider sidewalks? Is it bike paths? Is it just pedestrian paths that go through the development? Is it connections to existing bike lanes or other things that we need to think about? So I think all of that is very relevant as we think about the specific locations of those, the north site and the south site. You know, where can we really make those connections that will be helpful for future residents on those sites, as well as residents who live around there right now? And designing communal space is another one. So we know that the city of Houston does have green space requirements for these kinds of larger developments, which are meant to really create gathering spaces. But we also know that not all green spaces are created equal, right? So you may have a green space that's just sort of a piece of lawn that doesn't have a lot going on. It's probably less likely to have people gather there if there's no shade and no, you know, benches or other opportunities that are creating this feeling that this is really a gathering space. So we want to really think about how green and common spaces that are part of these developments can add value for the residents and maybe for folks from the neighboring areas as well. And this is just an example of, you know, what it might look like to have, you know, a gathering space within a development. You know, this is sort of one that is between a set of homes. So thinking about, you know, this is one example, but there may be more areas where this could be activated or you know, things could be added in other ways that would activate it a little bit more. And then the last big question we have for you all tonight is who else we need to talk with. So I think, you know, we've said, you know, we think that you all are partners in this as well, as residents, as folks who live in the neighborhood. And we want to make sure that other people who need to know about this are aware and are able to either attend meetings. So are there events, you know, that the housing team could be invited to in June to gather feedback on this? Are there folks who need to know about the website who may not be able to attend a meeting but could give us their feedback on the website? All of that, we just want to make sure that we are gathering any feedback on who else could be engaged in the same conversation. With that, I'll hand it back to Jeremiah to talk about next steps.
Thank you for that, Alex. So again, thank you everyone for your patience, and the presentation part went a little bit longer than I thought it would, but now we're going to break out into sessions and start actually engaging and finding out your thoughts on some of these questions.